Hello, everyone. Gary Ryan here. It's another Fed League Flash. Today is Monday, September 4th. I hope you're all having a wonderful Labor Day. So, today, I'm kind of inspired off of yesterday's video, which was the history of the Battle Creek Rumblebees. I'm going to talk about um, the big expansion of 2019-2020 took place with the Fed, expanding from 6 teams to 10 in one season. Was it a success or not? Um, Obviously, not everything associated with this expansion has worked, but we're going to kind of see as we examine things the impact that the expansion has had upon the league up to today. All right, so we went from 6 to 10 teams in one fell swoop, um, and I have, if you will, a brief epitaph of each team: Danbury Hat Tricks, the Columbus River Dragons, Delaware Thunder, and the Battle Creek Rumblebees. All right, which reminds me, wanted to share because I got some feedback in yesterday's video regarding the Rumblebees. Um, April 1st, everything that I talked about there, that was an April Fool's joke that was initially perpetuated by the website Bus League Hockey. Now, a lot of traditional media sources bought into that because there was about 4 or 5 different links that I found that specifically talked about the events of that day. So, um, in the end, there was no planned relocation to Berlin for the franchise. The team was in limbo, and then finally in June, yeah, that was it. So anyway, this expansion, getting back to that, was kind of a change in the league's philosophy as far as how it would handle prospective new markets from this point on. There was a definite shift that happened as a result of this experiment. Um, and part of it had to do with well, I'll get into that in a bit. Okay, just to recap some history associated with this expansion, you had the 10 teams. Now, at this point, um, most arenas were still pretty small in the league. It was still kind of like the old Fed that started off at the very beginning, where it was a lot of smaller sized arenas, like your water towns, like your Rome, New York, Delaware. Um, at this point in time, 2019, 2020, the only arena that sat more than 3,500 people was Columbus. And now that was kind of an established market that had been in both the ECHL and the SPHL for 21 years in Columbus, with the arena sitting approximately 7,250, give or take. So, but if you look at things, um, back then, you had, Danbury was one of the bigger arenas, and they sat at 3,100. Carolina, they had expanded a couple of years earlier, seats about 3,400. They've been very successful. They've been a model of success for the league. So has Columbus. Um, so we got to the end of this. COVID comes around. Mentor gets removed from the picture. Um, they didn't draw well. Their arena only sat 1,600, but in 2 seasons they drew an average of 374 and 652. So the team just was not making any money. So they pull out. Danville, the whole situation with Danville and how the Dashers were basically booted in favor of uh, an SP team. Um, that's well documented. Um, Battle Creek, obviously, they just they were never meant to succeed. Really, they were just to help fill in the schedule and help that 2019 to 2020 season get underway and get going. So now there's been a change, really. Whereas, in the old days of the Fed, the first few years, it was kind of like if somebody said, "Hey, I'd really like to own a team," um, Mr. Kiernan, I've got a little bit of money. Yeah, I can set up a contract for my team to play in such and such an arena. Can I be a part of the Fed? Yeah, sure. Not so much that way now. Now there's a lot of consideration and a lot of thought that goes into a prospective new market, including the quality of the venue, um, the potential ownership group. Do they have corporate sponsorship tie-ins? Do they have uh, access to capital? Uh, is there a good cash flow going on? Those are things that are now being considered. Um, and we see that now. I think the franchises that we have now are a lot stronger. Now, yes, there are still some struggles that are going on. We had the whole situation in Delaware that kind of unfolded at the end of this year. Of course, Delaware being part of this great expansion um, and playing in a smaller market. Now, hypothetically, right now, their story is not done. They're hoping to build an arena in Dover, which seats 2,000 plus. Whether or not that happens, time will tell. But if you look at the venues that are used now, I'm just kind of focusing on that particular thing as far as what the FPHL looks for in potentially expanding into a new market. It's not just oh, somebody has a few dollars and wants to own a hockey team. Excuse me. There's a lot more that goes into it. Is there local interest? Um, is there that corporate money that can potentially come in? Um, most of the successful franchises that are in the league right now, they have sponsorships in place to help fund things. And that in turn helps ticket sales and attendance numbers and whatnot. But okay, you look at things. The new team this year, one of the two new teams, Baton Rouge, nice big arena. They've had hockey before. They've had an ECHL team. 8,900 can fit into the Raising Cane River Center. Um, you know, how much are they going to draw this year? Well, time will tell. Mississippi, now they're the biggest arena in the league. They can seat around 9,100. Last year, they only drew 2,645, which they have to build up that name recognition and that brand again. Yeah, I mean, there's no better person to do that than Joe Pace, who is there. So I would look for their attendance numbers to increase this next year, especially if the product on the ice becomes a little bit better. Um, you have Columbus, nice arena, and they're doing very, very well. Columbus is a model as far as how to market your team. Um, every other team in the Fed should be looking at Columbus and say, "Hey, what are they doing? They're doing some really good stuff. Let's follow that example." Um, Binghamton, an established hockey market. There's been hockey played there for 50 years. There's a lot of corporate sponsorships that go on with the Black Bears organization. Elmira, they've had a strong history in the past with both the ECHL and the old UHL, the U-Haul League. Still struggling to find their footing in the post Elmira Enforcers era. The Enforcers drew very, very well. Obviously, the Mammoth had their struggle last year, and they're still trying to establish the the viability of that market. Um, so we'll see what happens this next year. This next year is a very, very important year for the Elmira market. Carolina has done very, very well. They're obviously a very successful market. All right. You look at all the arenas that are in the league right now, there's only two arenas that seat less than 3,000. The Apex Center in Withville is getting expanded to 3,000 seats. So the two smallest markets are Port Huron, seats about 2,200, and the Watertown Municipal Arena for the Wolves, which seats about 1,500. But those are kind of old carryovers. They're kind of like a grandfathered into what the league is now, and they're doing well. They're making money, so that's important. But anyway, based upon the lessons that could be learned from this expansion and the subsequent expansions that have taken place since, you can see it needs to be done progressively. You can't just say, bam, let's add a ton of teams. You don't want to end up with a situation where you have the Delawares and the Battle Creeks of this world. So I think the good goal for next year for expansion is to round out the league, get it to 12 teams. I don't see any reason why any of the 11 teams that are going to play this year wouldn't return. Of course, things can happen, but still, you want to think positively. So, you'd say, well, there should be no reason why we don't have these 11 teams plus one more, help round out the schedule, make scheduling a lot easier, and still continue to grow the league and the product. So, the end result of this expansion was 2 teams made it, 2 teams did not. But again, we saw a definite shift in philosophy to a much more sound, structured business model that took place as a result. And so I would say that all things considered, did the league meet its goals with this particular expansion? I say yes. It is unfortunate that things in Delaware turned out the way they did. However, those were more external factors with the conflict between the Delaware State Fairgrounds and the ownership of the Thunder. Battle Creek, again, that was just, they were built to fail. But it's kind of like putting a Band-Aid on a cut artery. It kept the league from bleeding out, basically. But anyway, so that's my take, is that yes, this was a successful experiment and has helped to pave the way to where we are now in the Fed. So let me know what you think about the expansion and the potential for future expansion. Leave a comment down below. Make sure to hit like and subscribe. In the coming days, I don't think I'm probably going to have a video tomorrow. I'm thinking everything's just going to be posted on Facebook. Still kind of getting back to health here, so and I do have some obligations that I have to take care of tomorrow. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the videos from the last few days. Make sure to keep continuing to follow me on Facebook at Fed League Flash, Spotify, Thursdays for the Fed League Flash on Spotify, and of course, here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, for all your support. I'm Gary Ryan for the Fed League Flash. We'll talk to you again soon.